This might be just some of the best advice on having more happiness and fulfillment in your life. And I know that is a really big promise, but I truly believe that true freedom is downstream from financial freedom. And there's a lot of people that say that money doesn't buy you happiness. And there's a lot of truth to that, but I also think it's missing a hell of a lot of nuance and might be sending you in the wrong direction as well, which is why in this episode, I want to break down 3 key concepts that dramatically changed my viewpoint on wealth and money in my life. But really importantly, being able to have so much more freedom and fulfillment and peace of mind in my life as well. Now, as someone that grew up in a family that didn't have a lot of money, but my parents, they are absolutely spectacular and they did absolutely everything. And I loved everything that happened in my childhood because it created who I am today. But there was a story that was put inside of my head that I created as a child that was so much of the case of that money equals happiness. Because I lacked this and because I was not happy, if I had this, then I would have that. And it took a lot of psychotherapy, a lot of psychedelics, a lot of deep inner work to be able to now come around to me being able to share with you what I am sharing with you today with so much confidence and knowing inside that there is truth. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, freedom is one of my strongest values. I want freedom, and you might want more freedom as well. And I think my spidey senses say that you probably do want more freedom. But how do you actually create more freedom in your life to essentially get to that essence, to that feeling that it is that we're wanting? And it's why I design my life and my business and what I do on a daily basis. And with one of the principles being that true freedom is downstream from financial freedom. And there's 3 arguments I want to make that help actually back that up. And it's why I want you to stick with me to the end of this episode. But before we do, there is one important point that I want to make, and especially when it comes to freedom right now. And that is, well, what really is freedom? And I'm pretty sure it was actually through reading Rudolf Steiner's The Philosophy of Freedom that he makes a fantastic point. And it's the difference of the wording freedom with an ending of DOM and Freiheit. Now, excuse my poorly accented German, but Freiheit, the ending of freedom with HEIT. And freedom is the freedom that we can have from the external world, from outside of us. But Freiheit is the freedom that we attain internally. This is what the feeling that we have of freedom that comes from inside of us as well, which I think is extremely important. Because I don't want to miss the nuance and think, you know what, this is all about just making tons of money and tons of cash, and therefore that's what's going to give you fulfillment, happiness, and freedom. No, I do not believe that at all. But what I'm going to argue against in this episode is against going down that more of an aesthetic route, more of the renouncing, more of the feeling bad that is against actually earning, receiving, and money and wealth, and why I think it's actually a good thing when done properly as well. So the first argument point that I want to be able to make here, especially when we look at the spiritual crowd, is we look towards what Buddha did. And Buddha, which was a prince, he left his princely life to be able to follow a spiritual path, to then be able to attain enlightenment. And the asceticism route is the renouncing of the worldly goods. It's renouncing of the wealth. It's renouncing of money, renouncing of having material possessions as well. Now, on one hand, I very much love simple meals. I want to be able to live with simplicity. And I do not want to have the desire of attaining more for more, because it's cancer. More growth for more growth is cancer. And I don't think that is the route. And there is a golden mean that I truly believe that we can walk here with wisdom. But the asceticism route of just renouncing it, I do not think puts you, and what I think is the important point here, puts you in the position to be able to best serve yourself and to be able to best serve others as well. So that we can learn from what Buddha did in that story as well. But I very much lean more towards, especially when it comes to this context and this topic, towards what Marcus Aurelius points to when he says, one can live well even in a palace. And now when I think about this, I think of one of the most powerful, wealthiest men of his time right there. And he was able to navigate himself with such wisdom of being able to wanting to attain peace of mind, but being able to do so with that power and wealth at his fingertips, and being able to understand that one can live well even in a palace. He can be in the palace, he can have the worldly goods, but he does not have to sacrifice his peace of mind at the same time of that. Then the second concept, this second idea really came to me because I struggled for a really long time trying to make sense of the world, trying to best navigate myself through this world to essentially wanting to be able to be on my deathbed and having admiration for myself for how I showed up throughout my life and how I actually best did what I did throughout the course of my life as well. And I struggled with the case of point of I had these desires of wanting to have more money, wanting to attain more wealth. And I knew I was doing an okay job at quelling it, suppressing it, and like not living into it, but I wasn't accepting it. And I think there is a level of acceptance that needs to come to this as well to best navigate through it. And it wasn't until I really learned the Hindu tradition of understanding the different chapters of life that we go through. And the first chapter of life is we want to be able to attain pleasure, to attain those good feels through things like sex and food. We want to be able to have those pleasurable, joyful experiences. And I think joyful is actually the wrong word that I used there, but those happy experiences that bring us those good feels in the moment. The second chapter is when we want to be able to have more happiness and fulfillment, and we do that through trying to attain money, power, and wealth. And I think this is where a lot of people get stuck into and they're not able to transcend beyond that as well. But there's a level of accepting that, okay, that's the chapter that you're in right now, and there's nothing wrong with that when navigated wisely. But then there's the third chapter, and we go, okay, I didn't get the happiness and fulfillment that I wished through food and sex. I didn't get my happiness and fulfillment through the money, power, and achievement and accolades that I was able to attain. And then the third section is I want to be able to attain happiness and fulfillment through giving, through altruism, through being able to give back to the world also. And then in the Hindu tradition, it says that that will also not give you the attainment of fulfillment that you're really looking for. And it goes to the fourth level, which is self-transcendence. Now, I'm not going to go into the self-transcendence right now. I think that's a little above my pay grade, but I think there is something beautiful to which it points at, which is the accepting of the chapter that you're in right now. And especially understanding that, well, if you do want to attain wealth, to attain accolades, to attain power, that it really comes back to, oh shit, I'm going to quote the Buddha again, but it's not the outcome of an action that determines whether it is a success or not. It is the motivation behind it that is whether it is a success or not. And so that's where I think I'm really trying to grasp. This is with the knowing for me that made me feel so much better, that I want to be able to transmute across to you right now, is that understanding of the acceptance of where it is that you have, but having the right motivation behind why are you actually really trying to do it. Are you just trying to attain money and power to make you feel good, to go up the social status so you can kind of social to signal anyone else that you're better than them, that you're the apex? Or is there something more beyond that? Because then it brings me to the third profound part of this argument. And it really started with me understanding the word mudita, which is the Pali word that is essentially sympathetic joy. It is the joy that I feel when I see somebody else enjoy as well. And this is profound because when I started to literally engineer, set up, navigate myself through life in wanting to experience more mudita, it was me wanting to ensure that it's giving. I'm wanting to make somebody else's life better. And through my motivation being that, I in turn am able to profit with the good feels, with me feeling better as well. And so this is the case where it's like, for me to best be able to serve someone else, it's best done from a full cup. When my cup is full, I can then let it overflow and spill out, and I can best serve others. Because I really believe, this is for me anyway, there's a case of I'm on this earth so that I can best serve others as well. It doesn't mean I do it in a martyred way and I need to be able to also best serve myself, but it's a case of how do I best serve others? And is it me being poor and miserable and out of shape and unhealthy and not mentally strong? Is that the best position for me to be able to help others? I don't believe so. I think I want to be in my best power so that I have the energy, so that I have the resources, so that I have the ability, the skills, the behaviors, the personality, the identity, everything needed so that I can best serve my family, my community, and then the world. So then to wrap this up, for me, it's a case of rather than renouncing wealth, I think there's much more in the understanding of what Marcus Aurelius points to in the understanding of one can live well even in a palace. And then rather than feeling bad that you do want to be able to attain money and power and these accolades and achievements, it's an understanding of, well, is this the chapter of life that you're in right now? And what is the motivation truly behind you wanting to be able to have that? And then it's really, rather than feeling bad about wanting to be able to achieve financial freedom, it's actually an understanding that, again, when done correctly, when done wisely, you are now best able to serve and leave the world at a better place as well, which is why I believe that true freedom is downstream from financial freedom. Now, I hope that this has caused a little bit of a rumbling, a little bit of the cage rattling for you, and I'd love to be able to hear from you. If you don't agree with any of this, please push back, please comment below, let me know. I'm simply here sharing what it is that my beliefs are because I want some pushback. I want to be able to have my hypothesis. I want to be able to have my beliefs. I want to be able to have my assumptions tested so that I can become a better person as well. This is by no means me coming down with the tablets etched in stone telling you what it is that you need to do. That's not the case as well. I think this is more of a case of us having a two-way conversation and us being able to understand that we both want to be able to be better, to best live our lives as well. So I would love to be able to hear from you, and I appreciate you being here for your time and attention. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode.